Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you all are having an amazing day. And I am so happy to bring to you Jasmine and Derek, who are a part of the Rudd Financial, which is a diversified financing firm that helps businesses access capital, purchase real estate, and acquire necessary tools and technology for growth. They aim to ignite business growth by sourcing funds aligned with each organization's goals, regardless of industry. Rudd Financial is committed to integrity, working with businesses to identify their needs and secure the right funding to achieve their next benchmark. They focus on responsible, equitable growth that strengthens communities and supports innovation. Rudd Financial was established to help businesses in Arizona and nationwide access the capital needed to fulfill their potential. So, welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So, I know I went through your bio, but can you give us some in-depth information as to what Rudd Financial can support its clients with?
Yeah, so a bit of my background. So I've been in sales for a little over 6 years now. So definitely have experience with helping out different people and different clients get what they need. And so I recently transferred over into the financial industry, originally working with Derek and training under his institute and just learning how I can help out the communities with different investors. There's a lot of different real estate investors where I live. Arizona is the growing city, so we got a lot of potential out here where we can help out different investors, different small businesses.
Absolutely. So, how in depth, how do you support your clients? Do you, um, what does that look like?
Yep. So a lot of times people will reach out either on my LinkedIn or my website, or sometimes just having different conversations with just being out. If I discover that they're a business owner, I tell them what I do. I help them with capital placement and capital sourcing. So we just kind of just form out a plan here. So I just see what they need. If they require any capital, a lot of people require working capital to continue growing their business and just to keep the doors open. So that's what I help them with. Once I assess their needs, I'll get them connected to my network of lenders and I help them connect. And then based off of that, they can get funding within a week or two.
Wow, that's amazing because all businesses need money.
That's right.
That is an understatement.
So I just try to help out because I know the traditional way is going to a bank, but everyone knows that banks tend to be conservative in that way. So not every client is able to get capital if they need it. And so that's where me and Derek come in. We help out those that would have otherwise gotten funding, but due to the bank's restrictions, they weren't able to. So we try to help them out in that way.
And so you help out the underdog, so to speak.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So if a client comes in and they're interested, do you help them with the application process in terms of filling that out correctly? Because I know a lot of times what happens when business owners are applying for loans, they don't necessarily fill out the application right.
Correct. So yeah, I help them out. I oftentimes walk them through the application, what we require, and on top of that, I send out a checklist of what a lender may want to see to accompany that application. So different financial statements, tax returns, things like that. We'll just send out towards the lender.
Oh, okay. So Derek, talk a little bit about your input.
Absolutely. So, what makes it unique about what we do, we have lending partners in throughout the country. So, we focus on three primary, I would say, financing vehicles. What are those? We do commercial real estate, we do commercial equipment, and we do commercial working capital. And not necessarily for startup businesses, because the banking industry and the economic environment that we live in this country has changed.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what's going on with the interest rates going up high. But what we do, capital sourcing, capital placement, and I'll kind of tie it to this, we are able to do that small capital, anything that's $500,000 and under. Medium capital to us is anything that's going to be 500,000 to $5 million. And then if we have a client that's looking for something in that 5 million plus space, we could do that too. And we can do the different industries like hospitality, manufacturing, distribution, etc. But at the end of the day, we work with the clients with the capital sourcing and capital placement.
All righty now. So that is amazing because most people, it's a nervous transaction. It's a nerve-wracking transaction. You got to fill out all this paperwork and you feel like you got to give your firstborn just to get seen. So it is awesome that you guys are taking that pain away from people who are seeking funding because it is nerve-wracking, trying to pull together all your documents and, you know,
Definitely.
wording it because wording matters. We all know when you're trying to get anything and especially money.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another thing that we also help out with, so we, in order to get the lender interested in the deal, oftentimes we'll have to come to them and pitch it. And so we just go over the client's needs and um, not only what they expect, but just the whole essence of the business. So we try to pitch the deal to make it sound good, as well as provide the necessary financials in order for the client to get the funding. So a lot of times when you do go to a bank, you don't necessarily have that kind of relationship. It's file after file to them. So we're able to take one file at a time, introduce the lender to the opportunity, and then once the lender is interested, we'll connect the two.
Okay, that's awesome. So let's say the lender is requiring more information because, as we know, the more money, the more they want to see.
Right.
Okay, so how does that work? How do you assist the client with that aspect?
So in that case, it does depend on the lender oftentimes. Each lender varies. So we ask the lender prior, do you prefer to have me still in the middle as far as receiving information between the two, the lender or the client? And so oftentimes I'm still in part of the deal. I just CC'd in the emails, or oftentimes I'm still kind of separate. I just recently done a deal where it's kind of that case where it was a lot of money involved. And so I was still pretty much back and forth, still working on the deal, collecting all the documents that the lender is still asking for. So I just do my best to expedite the process in that case. But other than that, it's pretty simple.
Okay. Wow. So if companies want to work with you, how do they connect?
Yep. So they can either go to my website. I do have a connection option where they can email me or fill out an application. They can also connect with me on my LinkedIn, and we can talk personally as well.
Okay. Derek, I saw you waving there. What would
Yeah,
you
so
like to ask?
I was just going to add too. So what I would say where we're the most dangerous, we're intermediaries. So we actually demystify the process for the small business owner. So instead of them, if they're looking to maybe refinance their commercial building or they want to buy a large piece of equipment, or if your bank told you no, there's a reason for it. Well, there's the traditional market, which are the traditional banks and credit unions. Then there's us. We're the alternative space, not necessarily secondary market, but our lending partners that Jasmine and I have, they're nationwide. So if you're in a space where you're doing, even from an investor standpoint, maybe you're doing fix and flips or you're doing commercial real estate where you have an apartment complex. Well, here's something I think is very important for the audience. Banks aren't lending right now, and that's not a slam on the banks. I'm a former senior VP with Wells Fargo Bank, so I was a banker for 27 years. My network of bankers, they're all looking for jobs because all the banks are going to start merging. You're going to see more stuff like that with Silicon Valley Bank. What's going on with them? Check out your bank and just Google what's the status of your bank. A lot of the small community banks are on the chopping block where they're going to merge or they're going to be bought out by another bank, and there's going to be less banks in the country. But meanwhile, money's going to be tight, and then we are going to be able to play that MVP role for small businesses.
Wow. That's good information because I mean I with all of the different things in the media that has happened with banks, it's inevitable that the smaller ones are going to get bought up or
Yeah,
merged because I would imagine being a bank, it's a lot of not only rules and regulations, but managing the money is we know can become a mountain for a
Right.
lot of small banks in particular. They don't have the staffing often like the bigger banks have.
correct. And part of that problem too is the fact that these small community banks do all the heavy lifting. They're the ones that do all the commercial real estate. So what's happening to banks, and everybody's aware, but they may not have thought of it this way. If you go downtown in any city you live in, go at nighttime, notice all the buildings, the lights are off. That's because all the buildings are empty. And when after post-pandemic, people didn't go back to work, so the landlords, the tenants turn their keys back over to the landlords. And now all those loans are coming due, and the landlords are now turning those keys back over to the banks. So commercial real estate market has had its crash or crash,
Mhm.
and that's what's impacting these small banks. And last thing I'll say on that is small community banks, they make their money on deposits. Once they get those deposits, then they lend that money out. Nobody's depositing money today. Everybody's kind of living on credit cards, so that has its implications as well.
Mhm. Let's talk a little bit about interest rates. Uh,
Mhm.
do you, does your company negotiate that as well with the lenders, or is that basically the lender's choice?
I would love to take a stab at that question, and that's a great question. So traditional banks are going to typically charge you prime plus or the Wall Street Journal Prime. And I think it's important for me to share this to our audience because, as we all know, as we were growing up, I remember a grandmother who raised me said, knowledge is power.
Yes.
And the more we know, the more dangerous we are. But here's how it really works. So the Fed fund, Chairman Powell just said they may be increasing, or excuse me, lowering the interest rate. The Wall Street Journal rate today is 8.50%. The Fed fund rate is typically today, right now, it's at 5.5%. So anytime a bank comes in, they buy they buy their funding through bonds to get a good decent bond rate. They'll buy that money from the Fed at 5.5%. Well, the Wall Street Journal Prime, it's going to always be 3.5 points above that. So Wall Street Journal Prime for a bank is going to be 8.5%. But here's the problem. The bank has to have a spread on that money. So they're going to charge you prime plus 1 or 2. So now the rate becomes, instead of 8.5, it's probably going to be 9.5 or 10.5. So let's stop there. Then when you get to the alternative market, like where we work in, it's going to be prime plus 1 to 5 points or 5%. And that's where the rates gets up higher. But because banks aren't lending right now, folks haven't figured it out, but they're going to be stuck in that alternative market. Because what do you do when the banks aren't lending? Well, babies still need shoes and businesses need to still have payroll. They are going to have to borrow in that secondary market. But there's going to be a lot more banks as we see. Just pay attention to the news, pay attention to what the Fed funds are doing right now. And it just lets you know right away well, what I would say Jasmine and I do a lot, we'll ask our clients this one question. Have you applied at your bank? Most people will tell us yes. And then we'll ask them this question, well, why were you declined? And that lets us know where we go. And our goal is to demystify the process. Jasmine takes that deal, she does an assessment on that client, and then she's off talking to her lending partners around the country trying to find the best deal for that client. Then she packages that deal, submit it to that lender, gets approved, the client's happy, the lender's happy, and a lot of time the bank is happy because they can't lend anyway.
Wow.
Right.
a lot of
That's
information.
everything. That's everything in a nutshell.
Yes, yes. And it sounds so smooth and so simple until we try to do it ourselves. And then it's like, oh my God, I need some help here.
It's intense. It can be very very intense in that way. A lot of
Yeah,
people they end up giving up trying to do it themselves just because it's a lot involved.
Yes, yes, it is. I mean, I do a little bit of helping people get grants, just filling out the application, and you really have to pay attention to the wording. You have
yes,
to read it, not one time, maybe a couple of times, because
yeah,
if you don't give them exactly what they asked for, then it's a no-go.
absolutely. We live in that same space too. And, in finance, we know this from being a banker. They trust but verify. And if they can't verify it, they just keep it moving.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. This has been amazing. I learned a few things myself, especially about what's going on. I mean, I know something's going on with the banks, but Derek, you just spelled it out.
And we're like us, and like you're, just minding my business media. We're all entrepreneurs, and this is something we tell clients. We're not looking for self-employed people or people that have a little hobby. We're working with entrepreneurs like your business, because we're the ones that pay in the tax base. We're trying to grow. We're helping other clients. We're bringing value. We pay into the tax base. There's a lot going on. We got political stuff going on. We got economic stuff going on, and people participating and listening to your podcast. This is where you may get the only knowledge on the subject. So keep tuning in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And right now, we have freedom of speech. Thank God. I don't want to say that too loud.
And, and hello, come on.
And that's important because, I mean, they're not going to tell you what you need to know, period. It's
Period.
people like you and Jasmine that are in the trenches every day and realize that you need to stay abreast to what's going on so that you can keep your clients in the know. So I truly appreciate what you both are doing because it's a bad world out there when it comes to sharing good information.
Yeah.
Right.
And we appreciate it. Thank you for platforms like yours because you're getting the word out. And if people haven't picked up about just minding my business media, and then with Jasmine and myself, we're going to tell you the truth. We're going to be transparent, but we're going to tell you the truth.
And that's what this
Absolutely.
show is all about: transparency, authenticity, and truth. Because
Love it.
I don't want to be, I hate liars, number one.
Let's don't get her started, guys, because I'm on
I
that.
know. And, it's important that we know because I'm not an expert in finances. You are. So I'm leaning on you to lead me in the right direction as well as my listeners and my viewers. So I appreciate your honesty and transparency because that's very, very important. So again, let me just ask fees to are the fees affordable or is it one of those things where once you get approved, you get a portion of whatever the money that was approved for? How's that work?
Yep.
I normally let Jasmine take that, but I'm going to take this one because
Go ahead.
she's one of the hardest working folks coming out of Arizona. But how it works is simply we charge price points. So if we have a client, we get you $1 million for your hotel or whatever your project is, we're going to charge you 1 or 2% of that,
Okay.
depending on the size and scope of the deal. And our loans are baked in the fees of the for the lending or at closing. So it's going to be on the settlement statement. It's going to
Okay.
be baked in the loan, so the client doesn't have to come out of pocket
Okay.
separately.
So it's pretty much done like a real estate deal.
A hundred
Right.
percent.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So that's important. So no upfront fees. They get their little loan. You just get a piece of that.
Yeah. No, no
Correct.
clothes, no pay. Simple as that.
Okay.
Thank you, Jasmine. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm like, y'all keep it clean and smooth and clear. I love it. I love
Yes.
it. So again, if people want to connect with you and get their money flowing, how do they do so?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, redfinancial.com, and it'll pretty much go over everything that we offer as far as service goes. We do equipment loans to working capital, and anything in real estate as well. And so from there, they can connect with me. I have my phone number on there, my email, and then also an area where they can apply if they're ready. But other than that, LinkedIn, that's also a really good channel to reach me personally, and we can just have a discussion.
All righty now. Wow. Derek, I'm ready to pick your brain some more because you seem to.
Anytime, because this is how we get the word out to folks. And we have that. You have your calling, we have ours, and we just want to stay true to it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your busy schedule because I know you super busy because everybody's needing some money for their business. And I'm sure the applications like never stop coming in. For sure. So I really, really appreciate this. And I'm looking forward to more collaborations because people need to know that they have these services available to them.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
They really need to know that. I mean, I'm in terms of the real estate side, I get the emails all the time about lending, 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 but who can you trust?
That's
Hello.
true. That is
That's
true.
a great comment. Yes.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You've got to do your due diligence, which takes time.
Hmm.
You can't just pick the first mo to say they're going to give you X amount of dollars. You really got to, you have to feel a connection with the people that you're working with.
Absolutely.
And you have to feel like they really care about your needs.
Absolutely. And
100%.
one thing I do want to add, so all of our lending partners, they're nationwide, and I just got into contact, just networking all over, a lender that can service U.S. territories as well as some parts in Mexico, and they're also a lender that are pretty heavy in the Caribbean as well. So if you have anyone in your network, I know you said you have a global network, so if you have
Yes.
anyone that needs that, we do have a lending partner that is a little bit more um, has a bigger appetite in that, and as far as that goes, um, they look at equity and things like that. So they're an equity based um, company, and so we do have that in case you have anyone like that. So we help out. We try to help out as much people as we possibly can when they cannot turn to a bank.
Absolutely. And you may not even want a bank. You might want to come to an organization like yours before a bank.
That is true. That is absolutely true. We try to keep a personal approach with it, something you may not get unless you're working with like a local credit union or something like that. But we do try to put that personal touch to
Yes, yes. And I can feel it. I can feel the love.
it.
So one more time, how do my audience connect? Because I know I got some people that need some dollars for their business.
Yeah, so they can contact me. So my website, once again, ruddfinancial.com. That's RUDDFINANCIAL.com. And then my email, just the same, info@ruddfinancial.com. And then I can also pass on my information to you as well in case you need
Yes.
that.
Yes, I think you sent me all your LinkedIn handles, website, all that good stuff. So I
Perfect.
already have it and I will include it in this interview.
All
So
right, perfect.
thank you both. This has been fun. I've learned quite a bit that I didn't know. So I appreciate that info. And I know my audience picked up some tips as well. So thank you so much. And thank you, audience. We appreciate you as well.
Thank you so much.
100%. Thank you, guys. Thank you.